Saturday morning, October 16, 2021. I'll be taking the dome car up to Thendara today. Power is going to be Mohawk, Adirondack, and Northern engines. It's about 8:15. Boarding time isn't until 9:30. There's the overhead walkway from Union Station. Train today will likely be 8 cars and 2 engines. Again, both will be Mohawk, Adirondack, and Northern engines. It's a New York Central 060 switcher 6721, owned by the Utica and Mohawk Valley chapter of the National Railway Historical Society. A few years back, a hopper broke loose from the New York, Susquehanna, and Western Railway, went cruising down about a couple miles, ran smack into the middle of the 6721, which backed into the wall there. Fortunately, the overhead walkway didn't collapse. 6721 was heavily damaged and has since been cosmetically restored. It wasn't operable before the accident. It looks pretty good. The Mohawk, Adirondack, and Northern engines will be taking our train to Thendara and back. It's 104 miles round trip. First engine is 2453, Inalco, built in 1964. And the other engine is 2456, also Inalco, built in 1964. They are both C425s. I'll be riding with 3 friends today in the dome car, one of whom will be coming in shortly on Amtrak train 280. So get the arrival of train 280, then scoot inside to get our tickets for the dome ride north. Amtrak train will be arriving on that same track in a few minutes. It's approximately 45 minutes late, I believe. Perhaps that long freight is the reason why the Amtrak is running a little late. And about 10 minutes after the freight passed, the Amtrak train is coming in to the station, also on track 2. So I'm in Utica's Union Station now, and this is the Adirondack ticket line. My friend who came in on the Amtrak train mentioned that it wasn't great traffic that held him up. There was a car on the tracks, and it took some time to remove it. I'll get closer to the ticket office.
It's just that it's going to take a while to get this.
Yeah, they're already up there.
All right.
My booth mates, Bill Mall, raise your hand, Bill, supervising conductor of the railroad, and then Bruce Becker and Al Gorney. And there's Al Haywood. All right, so Al, you going to let us on today?
Welcome aboard.
Thanks a lot. Let's go, man.
The numbers are on baseball.
Hello, we're at
Hello.
table 8.
Yes, are you a Rambler?
I am.
Well, I've enjoyed your videos and I love your dog.
He's not here with us today, though.
Yeah, unfortunately. Hi, Bill. How are you? Bill Wolf. Bill Wolf. Yeah, right. He don't recognize you.
Say, what do you think of it?
We're at 46 miles per hour, and Bruce is holding the his iPhone with the speed app. Bruce's dad worked for the New York Central, and he just mentioned to me that this is the best shape this track's ever been in, pretty much, Bruce.
Absolutely, no question.
So I guess in the New York Central days it was all cinder ballast, and now it's all rock ballast. And it's a nice smooth ride. So
Though I would venture to say the bulk of the rails are New York Central era rails.
that's right. So, all right. 48. The top speed is 50 miles per hour. So we're having a good time so far. We're trying not to cause any trouble. We've already been warned by the conductor once.
I went down through as far as the diner.
No, you're right.
That's where the conductor's office is.
Well, it's been raining all the way up from Utica, and it's raining pretty hard. Now we're in Thendara.
There's 1845.
92-day inspection it's due for.
Okay.
There's that beautiful caboose. Spent a lot of time on this.
Brooklyn?
No.
No?
It did say on the side.
No, it's like turnaround.
That's the flat car they've been using.
That had pieces of rail on it and the Tartaglia ramps to get the tie unloader off the gun, which I got videos of that I plan. John and I are doing the chapter show, and I'm going to see if I can incorporate that.
There's this one mom that I found her. This mom, she's a single mom. She got knocked out. My dad was going to do with them. I think it was twins. Yep. We're on the same side. Yeah. I love that Scout. I wouldn't know but I love doing it for girls. I like it.
Good game, man. They still got the old Great All.
Great all, that's been around a long time.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot it was that's where it's from. Oh, I actually forgot. Yep.
Bob Partridge's artwork.
Oh, was that? That's right.
Bob Partridge did that, yeah.
There's the 705 with no air hose because I had to steal it.
And we've arrived in Thendara. What time is it?
11:49.
Arrival 11:49.
The weather's getting better.
It was nice of it to let up. Oh, I don't know. It's coming down pretty good.
Say hello, William.
Hello, William.
Well, it was good camaraderie coming up to Thendara today. We made it about 2 hours and 15 minutes. And we're going to head out now and grab some lunch in Thendara. We have to be back here by about 4 o'clock, and there are shuttle buses to take the passengers into Old Forge, which is just a couple miles from here. Thendara is really just on the outskirts of Old Forge. This is the lower level of the dome car. Please do, because we're gonna shut ourselves.
Oh, you're gonna run the round already?
Well, we decided to forego going into town, and we're heading down to Otter Lake. It's a luxurious experience here with a little bit of leakage, but it was heavy-duty rainstorm, and there's no high winds. We're all having a good time, right?
Yeah.
You having a good time, Bruce?
Absolutely.
All right. We're nearly back in Thendara, coming up from Otter Lake. As I mentioned, we took the Otter Lake local leaving Thendara at 12:30. And we'll see a sad sight in a few minutes. A crossing signal graveyard. The state ripped up the tracks from Tupper Lake to Lake Placid, and the crossing protection signals are all stacked together in, as I said, kind of a graveyard. So we'll get some video of that as we pass it shortly. So this is the famous Otter Lake switch broom. So we should be coming up on that graveyard of crossing signs, signals. Here are the bungalows. And here is the graveyard. Unfortunately, the railroad's been ripped up from Tupper to Lake Placid. It's a sad sight indeed. This is Thendara again, of course. The rain has subsided greatly since we arrived up here in the Utica train just before 1 o'clock. Had a nice trip down, a bonus trip down to Otter Lake on the Thendara-Otter Lake local. And we'll be boarding the Utica train again about a little after 4. This is the Thendara engine house. Just a quick look inside. This is New York Central 8255. This was original to the railroad, wasn't it, guys? Mm-hmm. Is it an RS3?
Yes.
Yeah. Has this engine been used this year, or?
I moved it out of here to get another engine in here, but we didn't fire it up. There's some major work that was done on the engine this year, but I'm not sure exactly what it was. I'm not a mechanical guy.
Yeah.
But it was donated by Mike Fox from, I think it was in Kansas City.
So it belongs to the railroad?
It belongs to the railroad now. Mike donated maybe 5 years ago or so.
About like that, yeah, when it got here. Yeah.
He's been here, and one time we did use it on a run when he was here, but it had a water leak, so we only used it for one run.
So would this engine at one point have seen service on the Adirondack division?
I think Mike Fox says he has not seen a picture of this particular engine on the Adirondack, but he's looked. It very well could have, but just not
Right.
photographed.
But the same class engines
Yeah, the RS3
certainly would have been used up here.
All the time,
No
right?
question.
Yeah.
Yeah. So whether this particular number or not, but
Right.
I don't know what that DRSP, diesel road switcher, passenger maybe?
passenger, yeah. So I would guess that this, yeah, this boiler, the steam boiler would have been up. That's the stack for the steam boiler.
Oh,
And this engine would have been built probably in the very early 1950s?
yes.
Yes.
And I can hear it starting to rain again. And here's an ancient Frigidaire refrigerator. Looks like it's from the 40s or certainly the early 50s.
Tight, yeah.
Here's a back of that refrigerator that was interesting, at least to me. Model AR60.
No, 51.
So I'll have to do a check on Google to see when this was built about. Some look at the tools in the engine house.
So there's an inspection stencil for this year from June from 2021 that likely would have been used on air brake inspections this year on cars.
Very interesting. I'm inside a former New York Central dining car that was donated to the Adirondack Railroad by Amtrak. And I think Bruce to my right or Al to my left might just have a couple comments about this car.
Well, this car was built in 1948 by the Budd Corporation for the New York Central. It was part of the re-equipping of the New England States, which was the New York Central's premier Boston-Chicago overnight train. It was built as a diner lounge car, although it has been for many years with tables throughout. As built, at this end of the car had tables, and in the section that we just saw in the middle of the car had banquettes back to the window, and you faced into the center of the car at smaller oval tables for two. That's how it was built.
And this was an Amtrak regular operation until almost to the point it was donated to Adirondack?
Yes, yes, and this car was in service, I can't give you the exact date, but no, into say 2017, 2018. It ran on the Lakeshore Limited regularly, so it was on home rails as it would come through Utica and upstate New York. And as I noted to others, you can always tell a New York Central post-war streamliner car by the design of the ceiling ventilation grid. As if you look on New York Central coaches or in diners, they have this sort of distinctive ceiling ventilation grid.
Yeah.
It's a telltale sign it's a New York Central car.
And the regular passenger trains to Lake Placid, at least from in the later years, they didn't have any dining cars, did they?
No. So this car never ran north of Utica on the Adirondack. When it only ran, again, it was built for Boston, Chicago. In later years would have been in a general pool of dining cars that New York Central, Penn Central used. Then it went to Amtrak. It was equipped with head-end power. It would have been in the late 80s, early 90s, when it was converted all to electric operation from the previous steam heating and charcoal Presto log cooking on these cars. But there was no food service on the Adirondack north of Utica in New York Central time. Now to say no, maybe back in the 1890s, but not in any modern times. Even into the 50s, the overnight train that carried a sleeper from New York to Lake Placid was just a sleeper. It was not any lounge car or anything else.
So when the folks woke up in the Pullman car, they didn't have breakfast. They had to eat at Lake Placid. So that's
right.
Very interesting. Well, thanks for that, Bruce. It's certainly a nice addition to the Adirondack fleet.
That it is.
And we're leaving Thendara
Who's that?
for 37.
Oh, it's Felix.
He's going like this. Go to channel 1. He's pointing. Because I guess these MAN engines don't have a channel.
One of them does.
Yeah, I know. She's so good at it.
You better blow that horn.
There we go.
Look, that window makes it look way faster.
Well, it was a good trip despite the rain. We arrived back in Utica at 6:48. Hope you enjoyed this video. Unfortunately, Vitola wasn't able to accompany me today, but he'll be joining me trackside again some other time. So good night from Utica.